if I teach that right now. Okay, let's go to another concept called arrays. Okay, so arrays is little bit complicated. It's actually we discussed about the primitive data types, right? Integer, byte, short, float, double, long, and all those. Now, what if I have a collection of similar data types like integer, array of integers, or string, array of strings? So how do we deal with them? So let's see, how do we deal with them? How do we manipulate them? How do we print them? Okay, so let's see about simple example, not very complicated. Okay, so I created a test called array test. So integer b is equal to 7. So simple primitive data type integer b and 7. And I want to have a collection of or array of integers, let's say. Now there are two ways I can do it. One is by using the integer a. Okay, so this is one way, or other way is integer array can be represented with integer square bracket open, square bracket close, then let's call it C. Okay, so this is called integer array. So what values I can assign to the integer array? I can assign, just like I can assign a single integer to a single integer variable, I can assign multiple integers to a multiple integer array. So how do I initialize this? I can assign these values like this. So that means the variable C is going to have values 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Now how can I differentiate between these two? Using the index. Index of this 10 is 0. Index of 20 is 1, 2, 3, 4. Always starts with the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the size of this array is exactly the number of items the array has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Okay, so this is one way. There is other ways too, but let's try to print them. Normally.
So now I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you use this bracket, like whenever you have to use array, you have to use this bracket?
You mean this bracket?
Yes.
This bracket actually represents an array. So when I do not use bracket, it means it's not an array. This is an array.
Okay.
Array of what? Integer. So this array of integers will have collection of integers like this. Not just one value, but set of values, array of values. Okay. Now there are two ways I can declare an array. This is normal variable. Just to differentiate, I use. So this is how I declare and initialize array. Okay. There are two ways. You can put the bracket right after the integer type or whatever, or you can put bracket after the variable. So both are same. Just to show you this, I use two examples. Okay. Now, which value holds what? Length of this is 5. Okay, so this is not I'm not going to execute this. That's why I put it in a comment. Now, a of 0 is 5. Okay, so a of 0 is a single variable, separate variable. Because array contains all this collection, don't go to collection, it's an array of values. Okay, a0 is 5, a of 1 is going to hold 10, a of 2 is going to hold 2, and so on and so forth until the rest. Length until the max length. and max length of this variable is 5 because I already predetermined by setting these values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that is one way. One more way is you can also use a new keyword and set the max value. So integer, let's use the variable x, and using the new keyword and int, I can set max value like this. So this is another way. So this is first way. Second way, actually these two are same ways, just you can put this symbol here or here, doesn't matter. Now this is another way. So here I am not initializing these values like this, like I did before. I am just setting the max value. Integer array x equals new integer max size 5. I can also put 10 max size, doesn't matter. Okay. Now, how do I assign the values? Because I already assigned the values like this here. A0 is 5. That means these are initialized values. Here, I did not initialize any value. Now, how do I initialize the value? You can do so similarly. If I want to initialize the value to x3, I can do just like this. Or if I want to initialize x5, like this, and I can initialize value to x0. First index is 0. Always remember in Java first index is 0. 2. Okay, now I will ask you one quick question. What is the value of x2? Can you tell me? I just initialized values for x0, x3, x5. What about x2? Anyone?
Can you repeat the question again?
I'll write down the question. Okay, what is the value of x2? If I do not initialize a value of integer, what would be the default value?
0.
0.
0. Exactly. So what is the value of x1? Likewise.
0.
0. Yeah, that's, we already discussed this before. Primitive data types and the default values. Okay. So likewise, if I do not assign like 3, 4, it will be 0. Okay, now how do I print it? Okay, so I can print it normally using system.println, right? Using system.println, I can print a value of an integer. For example, if I want to print let's say I want to print b value. All right, I want to print a b value, so I can print it like this, or I can actually write something that makes sense. B equals plus b. Okay, so this will print the b value, and I want to print similarly an array value too. How do I print? I want to print, let's take x because it's the same thing. All of them have similar, different ways of declaring, but similar meaning. Okay, so I want to print, let's say, x1. How do you print? x1 is equal to, yes, x1, isn't it? Now, how do I print all of the values of an array? So if I want to print, or if I want to use them in a sequential order, then I have to keep on using them individually, like this. Sysout x1, sysout x2, x3, x4, x5, and that is going to become cumbersome if I have like 100 values, right? I cannot go on writing all 100 values or use them. So there is a concept of looping. Okay, so using loop, I can, without repeating, I can just repeat them using the syntax. So for is loop and integer, let's say I'm going to write something repeatedly. Okay, integer I equals to 1, I less than, let's say 10, I plus. We are going to see the more examples of this, don't worry. Okay, now whatever I print here, like let's print I itself. Okay, now this particular line, 2 lines are going to print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, 10 is not included. Let's make it
9.
So yeah, I less than, starting point is 1. So this is the syntax for integer I equals to 1. Okay, and the condition is I less than or equal to 10, and I plus plus is the increment. So it's going to work like this. First initial value is 1. Okay, so it will take 1 and come to this and print the value 1. Now it is going to go back to for loop and check whether 1 is less than or equal to 10. 1 is less than or equal to 10 condition is true because it's true, and it's going to increment by 1. I plus plus means I is equal to I plus 1, and come back. When this comes back here, the I value would be 2 and it will print 2 and it will take the next line. All right, so println means it will print and take the next line. So 1 will be printed and 2 will be printed. Then it will go back here and increment the value. So I didn't say increment the value, then check the condition, and this process goes on until the condition is not satisfied. Then it will come out of the loop. Okay, let's see this in action by executing this. Okay, let's see what is the problem. Okay, variable x is already used. So like I said, we cannot use the same variable 2 times. Let's change it. Okay, let's use x1 or whichever. Okay. If you don't see any errors, we are good. Okay, now okay, one more issue. So the value, max value is 5. That doesn't mean the index is 5. The max size of this x1 variable is 5. That means its max index is 4 only, because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are 5. Yeah, and when I actually put value 5, it's going out of bounds. Yeah, right. And to array index out of bounds. This is one of the built-in exceptions. Like we see last time, when we divide something by 0, it throws divide by 0, arithmetic exception divide by 0. Likewise, it threw immediately, and when we run, it's a runtime exception. When we run it, when it throws exception, we're going to come back and rectify this thing. Okay, now command 5. Let's rerun it. These are all the learning concepts. Okay, when you actually make a mistake, you will learn. So if you enter something which is going out of your range, it will throw exception. So automation or in your development Java coding, you're going to correct it immediately. Okay, now let's rerun this. Okay, now let's go to the beginning so that we can see what's going on. B1 is equal to B is equal to 7. Okay, so that's original value of an integer. Just for the sake of giving that value, I gave B is equal to 7 is printed. Now x1 0, x1 1 value is 0. Okay, So even if you do not assign this value, it will be printed as 0. So you can try that on your own. Now we also want to print something repeatedly. Okay, so don't worry, we are going to see this for loop concept separately, but just for making you understand about the array, I had to take this example immediately. So this will print the numbers from 1 to 10 sequentially, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So without repeating the sys out, okay, this is the last sentence for this 10. So I can use for loop and get it done, the repeated job using the for loop. Okay, so similarly I want to print the array values without repeating this, because if I repeat it would be sys out 5 times or whatever, right? Now I'm going to print this using for loop. Let's call this a temporary variable, and like I, okay, don't get confused if I use temp. Let's say I, that is a for loop variable, for loop index, and I want to run until array sizes reach, and array name is x1. Okay, so this has different syntax. It doesn't have integer I less than or equal to x, I plus plus, but I just gave I, and I am asking it to run over the size of the array itself. Okay, whatever the size, it could be 5, 10, 20, whatever. So it will run until the size of the array is reached. Okay. Now I want to print all the array values, whatever x1 has. I want to print all of those. Okay, let's print all of those in the for loop without repeating them, which is a for looping concept. Okay. Now, okay, let's take this piece of code up so that you can understand what's going on. Okay, so let me bring this down. Okay, so here this is an array 5, and array values are initialized. Okay, I can miss one of these values and see that also what is the value of array index to 1, and I want to print all these values without printing them explicitly. Now the only way is using the for loop. Okay, we have seen for loop normally, this is how you can print individual values, but if I want to print individual array values, I can run the whole for loop over the x1. What is x1? X1 is an array which has size 5, so it will obviously run till 5, and first value will be taken as 0th index 2. It will print, take this line, and C for 1, it doesn't have value, default at 0, and continue till 44. So let's run this to see the output. Okay, let me bring it up again. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 are for the first for loop. Okay, I did not differentiate, so don't worry. So okay, just to differentiate between these two, I'll put a separator so that you can understand this. We will also put this separator here or here. Yeah, this is the first. Okay, here. Okay, so let's run it again. Okay, so that's the first. This is the first for loop 10. Now we are printing the array values here. So the first value is, let's see clearly here, 2. First index 0, obviously 2, and then I did not initialize the x1 1, right? And default value is 0, obviously, and x1 2 is 0 initialized value, and x1 3 is 25, and x1 4 is 44. Now this is how you loop in an array values. Okay, now let's take, because integers are related to math, so let's take a realistic example too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a string. Okay, let's separate it and create string array. Okay, normal string would look like this, right? String John or whatever. Okay, if you do not assign a value to string, it will be defaulted to null, like this. Null. Okay, null is the keyword. Okay, so I am actually asking it to hold a value. Okay, that's simple string, you already know. Now, how do you deal with an array of strings? So already you know how do you declare array of strings? String, bracket open, bracket closed. Let's call this.
I have one question.
Names. Oh, one second. Names, and I want to make it hold 5 values. Let's say if you do not mention anything, max values, you can go on. Yeah, you can actually assign the values, but let's set the max value to 5 so that we can assign some values and print it. Okay, go on with your question.
Okay, how you get the array first one 2? Can you explain again?
You mean integer array?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is an integer first of all?
Okay.
Integer is a number.
Number. It could be any number.
Integer is a primitive data type. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is our declare integer int b, and I can assign some value like this. Clear?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now array is a series of values I can assign to. So let's say I don't want to assign just 10. I want to assign some set of values, some set of integers. Now the only way is to declare a variable as an integer array like this.
Okay.
Like this. Okay, and it's why variable type is integer array and variable name is x1. Now when you say I want to assign series of values, a set of values, what is your length of set? Okay, that's the next question. Now I can set it to 5. Let's say I have the values. Okay, then go for this syntax. Okay, I have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. I want to assign these values to an integer array. This is the best way. Okay, now let's say this is the best bet. This is actually not a best bet. So let's go with this value, because in this case I can set the max value and assign 2. Okay, now I set the max value to 5. And how do you go about identifying individual values of an array? By indexing them. What is the starting index? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? If you go index out of this range, it's going to throw array index out of bounds exception. Just now we have seen. Clear till here? This is the integer array, basic array type, integer array. What is an integer array? Integer array is a what is an integer array? Is a variable that holds set of integers, right? Not just one integer, integers. Now the question, this is all easy. You can declare it, you can assign it, but how do you access them in a single shot? So best bet is using the for loop. For loop like this, for integer I over the array, and whatever you want to do here, do it here. So same way, we are going to see one more example, string, because that will be realistic, right? String value. Okay. So let's say string name John. This is single value. You can print it. You can do whatever you want to do with it. Okay. Let's say string of names, which are going to hold collection of series of names or sets of names. Okay. Now let's say string of 0 is equal to ABC. Okay, that is one string, and string of 1 equals to DEF, Okay, let's skip 2 and let me jump to 3. Okay, let's see, because we know for a fact that it's gonna default it to what? What is the default value of a string?
0.
Null.
No. Yeah.
Default value of an integer is 0. Default value of a string is null. Let's see that in real time. Okay. So, okay, what is the mistake I did here? Why it is showing red color? Speak. Yes. It should be names, not string, right? The variable name is names, not string. That is a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I want to print all these names without repeating. So what is the syntax? How do I use a for loop? For. Yes, tell me. String now. String. Let's say X. I can have whatever variable name I want to for loop. Okay. Now I want to run over which for loop? Names. Okay. Now this will run over all the values that this particular variable is holding. This array is holding. Now what I want to do, I can just print it out simply. Okay. How do I print names? Array for loop value. Okay, now let's try to run it.
Is there a string value is X? How did you get the X?
Okay. Get value. 1 second, 1 second. Okay, names is already used. That's why every time I'm using the same. Okay, let's use a little bit different name. Let's use name Z. Because duplicate variable names are not allowed in Java. Okay, what's your question again?
I said that where did you get the X in string value? Did you mention the string value X anywhere?
Oh, this X is, that's what I was saying. This X is a for loops variable.
Oh, is the formula, is the method of for loop for array?
This is a syntax. Okay, don't worry. For loop we are going to come to, but we are dealing with array, right? So that's why I used to show.
Yeah.
For loop has a syntax. Okay, for integer I. This is
that I understand.
Variable belongs to the for loop. This is the index of for loop. I can put whatever I want to. It could be X, it could be Y, it could be Z, it could be A. Doesn't matter.
Here you put integer I and you are asked to system to print I. That I understand, but and you for a string you ask to print X for a string. So where did you get the X for a string? That's what I'm saying.
This could be anywhere. This is just a dummy value. I can put temporary variable. It could be anything.
Oh,
it's just
is that method? Is that okay?
It doesn't matter. It could be anything. Don't get stuck into the details. Concepting is important.
Oh yeah, understand. No, I understand.
Variable is any variable you want to name.
It's a variable for array. For loop, sorry. Yeah.
Right. Variable name could be anything. You can put whatever you want to. You can put XYZ, PQ or OPQ, whatever. Does not matter. Okay. Yeah. Likewise, this variable is my for loops variable, string variable. I want to hold these values in a sequential order. Names is my array variable, right? Names 0 is ABC. Now first it will start with initial value, which is 0. ABC.
C, D, E, F, X, Y, Z.
The collection of strings, right? Now names 0 is single string. Now first it will come and temp value becomes first time. This is how it works. Temp is a string. It can hold a single value. Now it's going to hold A, B, C first time. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it will print temp. So you will see ABC. You're going to see ABC. Now it will come back. And what is the second value? Which is the number 1,
Yeah.
right? Which is DEF. Now it will replace this ABC with DEF. Okay. Until it reaches the number 4, which is the index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is actually 5. That's how you have to understand. Now it will hold whatever the value. So for the timing, I only initialize 3 values because I know that, yeah, if you do not initialize a value, it will be defaulted to null. So let's see in action. Okay. So inside under the hood, it's going to work like this. Okay. Now you know what is this. This is just a temporary. Okay. I should name it as temp.
Thank you.
Now I am printing temp. So because every time temp is going to hold different values, one after another, starting with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and stop. Okay, let's run this. Okay, again it's saying duplicate variable. So let's see what is the duplicate. Just change the names. Okay, name is already used, so let's not use that name. So you're going to get the error right here. So you can correct it, or you just use the names distinctively. So name is already used. So let's say this is name 1. I just declared and assigned the value just to show you differentiation between single string values, single string variable, and array string variable like this. So you can see immediately what's the difference. Okay, let's run this again. Hopefully it will run. Yeah. Okay, so let's jump to the output of this. So this is the integer array. Remember, now I want to print this. So names 0 is ABC, names 1 is def, names 2 is missing. So I told you it's defaulted to null. And names 3 is XYZ and names 4 is null. That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 values are printed. How did we print? Using the for loop, right? So that is the concept of loop. So we are going to use this for loop over and over again. So this is how you deal with arrays and for loops. Okay. Now, let's say I don't have, like, I don't know the length. Now I want to run the whole for loop over the length. So the string array has function called dot length. Length is going to return the dynamic length, whatever the length could be, and I can run over that length. This is just a syntax. So let's see that. Okay. I want to print the sum of the numbers starting from some number till some number. Okay. So I'm taking the counter from 0 and I want to go until the max length is reached. Max length here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm taking a first example that I showed you. First example is like this. You can assign the values to or series of values to an array like this or like this. Okay. Now I want to take this, I want to display the sum of all these values inside the array. Okay. So like 5, 10, 2, 1, 5, and I don't know the length. So a dot length is going to give me the exact length of this array. So what is the length? Here I can see, but if I have this, I don't know the value. Let's say if it is there in some other class and I don't have access to that class immediately, or I have 120 values here and I don't want to count. So without having, detail look at it, I can just call a dot length and it's going to return me the whole length of that array, and I can run the for loop over that length. It's as easy as that. Okay. Now my task is take the sum of all the values of an array, the values of an array, and print it to the console. Okay. Now it's again a repeatable action, right? Now every time you get a repeatable action, you have to use a for loop. There is no other choice. Okay. Now The sum, I am first initializing the value sum, integer value, and I am just initializing with 0. Okay, the first sum is 0. All right. Now I want to add the first value of a array. So the L, it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever, and I'm running the counter from 0 because we know that array starts from 0, and until what point I want to run? Until the array's length is reached, and exactly that's what I gave, a dot length. And the reason I put less than, not less than or equal to, because I am starting from 0, so obviously it has to be less than strictly. Like if it is 5, so the index will be stopped at 4, which is less than, right? So, and every time the counter will be increased, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so sum is equal to 0, sum is equal to a counter a0, whatever the a value, a0 value is, it will be added to sum. So now let's say that has 1. Okay, let me take this down here. So that you will understand this. Okay. So a0 is 5. So 5 plus 0 is 5. Now sum will have 5 value. Now it will come here, counter will be increased to 1. Okay. So now counter of a of 1 will be 10. Now 5 plus 10, already sum has 5, right? 0 plus 5, 5. Now 5 plus 10 is 15. It will be added here. Now I'll go back here, counter will be increased by 1. So a of 2 is 2. Now 2 will be added to sum. Previous sum is 15. So 15 plus 2 is 17. Likewise, it will, okay, I'll actually explain the whole thing so that you will understand. Now counter will be increased by 1. So now the counter value is 3, right? Now a of 3 is what? F0, 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, a of 3 is 1. Now already sum's value is 17. 17 plus 1. 17 plus 1 is 18. Now current value of sum is 18. Not 0 anymore. 0 is the initial value. That's why we call it initialization. Now its value is getting updated. 18, right? Now comes back to for loop. Okay. Now counter value will be increased to 4. Now 4 is less than 5. A dot length is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 is less than 5. True. So it will take this value. Now a of 4 is 5. 18 plus 4 is how much? 22. So the final value of sum is 22. Now after the for loop, I am printing the total sum of the total value of total number of total sum of the number of values in the arrays, whatever. Now I cannot put this out inside the for loop because it will keep on printing all the sums, right? Now all I want is the final sum. What is the final sum of? It could be 100 values or whatever, right? All I'm doing is running over the for loop with a counter, and sum is initialized to 0. This is a little bit complicated, but trust me, so you're going to understand this. Now let's run this and see what is the value. Already it is run. Okay, the sum of total numbers is 23. Final value is 23 if you add it. So that's a mechanism you're going to operate upon a values inside a for loop. Inside a array. Okay. Now that is a single dimension array, one dimension only. That means just one dimension. What if you have two-dimensional array or more than n dimensional? So let's go to two-dimensional. It's just like an array. So if you see the matrix like this, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a two-dimensional array. Okay, but in realistic manner, let's take names, first name, last name, first name, last name. Okay, so the syntax would be similar to this: string names, instead of one pair of brackets, you will be having two pair of brackets to indicate it's a two-dimensional array. So you can put it here also, doesn't matter. Okay, do not put again. Okay, so this will mean the same thing. Now same way I can set the max value like this. Okay, but this time we will actually assign values. So I am assigning first name, last name, and first name, last name. Okay, now how do you operate on the values that belong to two-dimensional array? All right, so instead of one for loop, we have used two for loops. One operates on columns, other operates on rows. So first time setting the names dot length, and the index of first for loop is outer for loop is I, and the second for loop's index is j. Okay, and both run on the same length, names dot length, names dot length. And just to print, for the time being we are just printing, don't worry, we are going to go for a little bit complicated example like printing a multiplication table, which is going to use two-dimensional array. So let's print names like first name, last name, then first name, last name. Take new line character in between. So names ij. Okay, so first it starts with inner for loop 0. So j is 0, then I is 0. So names 0 0, that's going to hold this value. So always if it is single dimensional for loop, names 0. If it is two dimensional, it's 0 0. If it is three dimensional, 0 0 0. Obviously that is starting point. So this is how it's gonna hold like this. Names 0 0 will have this value. Names 0 1, 0th row first column is this, and first row 0th column. Okay, this is a row, this is column, and it's going to hold this value, and this is a first row first column, right? I mean, we are starting with 0, so it's going to look like this: 0 1. Okay, 0. Oh, sorry, 0. First is 0 0. No, I'll actually stick to this. 0 0 1 0 0 1 1 0 1 1. So it's just remember that 0 is the starting point. 0th column, 0th row, first column. Then 0th row, 0th row, 0th column, 0th row, first column, first row, 0th column, first row, first column. Okay, so all these values will be internally assigned like this inside an array. Now simply to access these, we'll use the for loop over row and column, and my row index is I and column index is j, and I am running over length of the array. So simply print this. So it will I is equal to 0, j is equal to 0. First value will be 0 0, and then it will hold this value 0 1. 0 is fixed, and j value will be incremented by 1. So it will be, and already length is reached, so it will go out, and I value will be incremented to 1, and 1, and j value is 0. So 1 0. Then 1 will be fixed here, and here j value will be incremented. So 1 1. That's it. It will come out because it reached less than names dot length. Length of this is 2. So 1 is less than 2 is true. So 2 is less than 2 is not true. So it will come out of the loop. And finally it will take a new line character, just to take new line character here. And in between these two names, first name and last name, I am printing the space. Okay. So when you look at the output, it will look like this array. First name, last name of the first person, and first name, last name of the second person. So let's take more examples on this. I just created more example. Just if you have values like this, you can print it. Numbers. So let's say integer is 2-dimensional, and I want to run over this for loop. Let's say I'll run over this array. So I have to use the 2 for loops. Same way with the names, whatever we seen. Same way we can also print the numbers in a 2-dimensional array. Okay, so that concept is going to be helpful in creating a multiplication table, which I actually created here. So my output, I want the output like this. Let's say I want multiplication table of 7. Okay, so 7 multiplied by 1 equals to 7. Okay, then take a new line character, and 7 multiplied by 2 equals to 14. So likewise, you print all those until 7 multiplied by 10 equals to 70. Okay, so this is the task. Now, how do you create this output? Using the 2 for loops again, because it's single for loop, sorry. So this is using the single for loop you can achieve this task. So I am going to comment this. So my output is whatever number I enter, okay, it has to print the multiplication table of whole number, that number. So starting from 1 to 10. So you don't need the 2 for loops because it's going to involve just single dimensional array. So starting from 1, okay, and until 10, because my multiplication table is going to be from 1 to 10, and for the number, desirable number, it has to print all this. So I is equal to 1, run it from I less than or equal to 10 to, and then increment by 1 every time. So output is important. First n, whatever the number is, then append it with asterisk, and then append it with 1, which is the index of for loop, equals appended, and then actually multiply n and I. So it will be product, and this will be continued by taking new line character every time, and it will be stopped at 10. Okay, so let's run this multiplication table thing and see the output. Multiplication table, subtraction, product, division is over. Oh, okay. So I am actually running the here. I have to run the test, right? Multi-table. Okay, so I have to call it. So let me uncomment this. So the reusable function is defined in arithmetic demo, but I cannot run it because it's not having the main function. So obviously I have to call it in the test. So object is created. We are using the same object. Now the task is whatever value I enter, it has to print the multiplication table of this. Okay, so I am calling multi-table. Okay, and let's just for the sake of simplicity, I'll take 7 here. Okay, let's put it side. Okay, so this is the desirable output. So using just single dimensional array, so I mean using 1 for loop, we can achieve this. So let's say I want to print the multiplication table of multiplication tables. Okay, so I actually overloaded this function. That means the function name is same, but by changing the signature, I accepted 2 integers, max number of tables. So until that number, I want to print multiplication table. Let's say 100 multiplication tables from 1 to 100. 1 multiplied by 1 is equal to 1 until 1 multiplied by 10 is equal to 10. Likewise, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, or whatever the max number is. Okay. So since this is a kind of 2-dimensional array, right? Now we have to use the 2 for loops. One runs on the rows, one runs on the columns inside, just like I explained before. So let's run this. By looking at this output, you can understand. Okay, so it's a little bit complicated, 2-dimensional array, but this will print. The first example is just to print us multiplication table of single number, but if I want to print multiplication table of tables, so it's like this. First multiplication table, okay, I took till 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 2, 2, 2 is a 4, 2, 3 is a 6, until 2, 20 is a 40. Likewise, multiplication table of numbers from 1 through 100. Why? Because I accepted 100, right? 100, I want multiplication. So if you want only 50, you enter 50 here. Okay. So I'll stop it here because it's already over for you, I guess. So today what we have learned already we have learned reusable functions, and what we have learned today apart from that, arrays, for loops, that's it. Okay, so we will, and overloading, not overriding. So we will continue this in the next class. I'll just write it down. What? Okay, homework, right? Okay, so what you're going to do is write reusable function that accepts. Okay, the example I wanted to show you, so you're going to do it. Accepts three strings. So 3 strings will accept. First is first name, middle name, and last name, and one integer. Okay, so this is going to be age, and print to the console. Okay, actually I'll make it a little bit complicated. Write a reusable function that accepts 3 string. Okay, print to the console the details of person. So details of persons. So the persons will, you have to actually take the arrays here using arrays. So one is string array, one is integer array. Okay, and it has to print using the for loop like below. So what is it? Sentence should be looking like this. Person. Okay, let's not use this. Okay, so let's say first name is Shah. Okay, first name, middle name, last name. So, okay, so apostrophe s. You have to use this. What is it called? Concatenation, string concatenation. I already showed you, right? So you have to do it. Age is 55 years. Okay, and exclamation. So this exactly has to be the output. Everybody got it? Any questions? So likewise, you have to accept 2 persons and use the array and print it like this. Okay, whatever you give, so it has to be like this. So you have to create a reusable function. So at the runtime, if I pass Shah Rukh Khan and 55, it has to print like this. So you have to use array, you have to use for loop, and you have to use string concatenation. 3 things, and output should be like this. Any questions on the homework? Okay, so the concepts you are going to use are what? Anybody tell me? Use array, 2 arrays, string array and integer array.
For loops.
For loop, single for loop, no 2-dimensional, don't worry about it. And string concatenation. What is string concatenation? I did it all the time, right? you have to append something to something. That is string concatenation. Where is that in the real function? Like this, sum of plus a plus n plus b equals to c, like this. You have to use exact similar structure. Okay. So